storm surge than they did certainly during Irene. Now, just a short time ago, the county executive toured through this area. One thing we are seeing is fewer people out and about taking pictures. The curiosity seekers have now gone in, and that is a good thing, according to the county executive, who says, playtime is over. People are starting to take heat. I mean, the streets have started to empty out a little bit.
Yeah, I think, this morning people were out in their cars all over the parkways and in downtown areas, either going to work or just getting out and looking at things. I think most people are now starting to get off the highways, get home. The hard part of the storm is starting to hit soon. So I think people are just heeding the warnings and using the precautions, staying inside.
And your message to residents is? And so now the little bit of good news, we spoke with the fire chief, and as we said, this was underwater during high tide. Unlike Long Island, where high tide will coincide with the bulk of the storm coming on shore, high tide here is closer to midnight, and they're hoping that if the storm goes through, they will be spared. The worst of it we'll have to see, but certainly the conditions have deteriorated here in Mamaroneck. Heavy winds, and the rain is picking up quite a bit. Guys?
Okay, great. We appreciate that report. Stay safe as always. And we want to tell you now to a dramatic story that has been unfolding here in Midtown, one that has had a lot of people very concerned. You're looking at a live picture right there. Crane partially tipped over on top of a building under construction. The crane perilously hanging on. That's the building at 157 West 57th Street.
Right. Emergency crews have been there, and really the problem is what to do now that we have the worst of the storm starting to bear down on our area. Eyewitness News reporter Sarah Wallace. Sarah, you were in Columbus Circle. Have you been able to move closer towards the actual scene there?
Absolutely, Liz and David. We are now at the staging area, which is the corner of 7th Avenue and Central Park South. You can see all of the emergency vehicles behind me. You can also tell how dramatic this is because the wind is just now gusting, and I'm going to take you up 90 stories now. Frank, if you can go up, if you can, with that camera for me. 90 stories up to where that crane is perilously hanging off of that building on 57th Street. 157 West 57th is the address. It is a 90-story luxury condo under construction. You can see it just hanging off the side of the cab. Now, we have late developments. We have been told that 3 buildings on West 57th Street are now being evacuated, and there is a large area that is a staging area. Also, traffic stops here on West 57th Street, West 56th Street, West 58th, from 5th to 7th Avenues. Again, you can see all of the emergency vehicles behind me. So this is not only a traffic nightmare here in Midtown, but also they're going to have to try to figure out how to secure that crane, and that's going to be a huge task because of these wind gusts that are now just whipping. They're bringing in special crews, special experts to try to figure out how to do that. In the meantime, evacuations of 3 buildings now underway. That's the latest live from the scene here in Midtown. Back to you.
And as far as we know, the people who are going to be evacuated, are they being told to get into a shelter, or where are those people being taken to?
Well, Liz, yes, sorry, but I didn't know if you were coming back to me. There are 3 buildings on West 57th Street. We don't know. Obviously, I think they're just being told that they have to get out now for safety reasons. If there are shelters, which, as you know, have been set up in the city because of the situation with the hurricane, so I'm sure they'll be offered those shelters. But otherwise, the people just have to be getting out for the time being because of the danger of West 57th. You know, we took you back up to that picture, and you can see that the crane that is just hanging off, if it comes off, which it very well likely may do, it is like a projectile, and it would head right for West 57th Street. We'll get those details for you as soon as we can get out and take a closer look. Tough to get here. You know, as I said, it's a staging area, so we'll get more of those details for you as we progress through the evening.
All right, Sarah Wallace reporting from Midtown on the dramatic pictures there, as you can see on your screen there. The crane that has collapsed, it collapsed a couple of hours ago. Officials still struggling to figure out what exactly to do with the worst of the storm heading towards our area, and whether or not they're going to be able to actually do anything. And certainly in the days to follow after the storm, many people are going to be wondering whether or not this crane should have been allowed to stay up, considering the severity of Hurricane Sandy.
And as dramatic as that picture is just a second away to show you another dramatic picture. One of the big concerns is the storm surge in Lower Manhattan, the likes of which emergency management officials have been telling us they have not ever seen before. That's the potential we're looking at. We got Kimberly Richardson stationed in Lower Manhattan, Battery Park City there. Tell us more. Kimberly, what's going on?
Well, in the last half hour, the wind and the rain has significantly picked up out here. I'm just south of the South Street Seaport. Behind me is where the East River and the Hudson meet. I want to show you the guys from Ladder 15, Engine 4. That's them over there. Look, they're watching the river here. They're watching the water because they know what is coming in the next couple of hours. I want to show you how visibility out here has significantly decreased probably in the last 45 minutes. You're looking out there. That is the heliport out there here on the FDR. Over there are the ventilation tunnels for the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel. Over there, those are the ports over there, and those big cranes over there, I'm not sure the technical term, those are the apparatuses that lift the containers off the ships. Look at this water right now. It is rocking, it is rolling. We're getting large gusts of wind, and it's picking up lots of the water from here. I also want to show you down here, NYPD, hats off to them. People are not listening. Again, this is Zone A. This is a mandatory evacuation area. People are still not listening. They are coming down here. We have NYPD vehicles all along this stretch in the Zone A, and they are telling people to get out. People are not listening. Actually, they're being very lenient. You know, they could give you a fine. I want to show you, we took a little, Barbara McCallick and myself, we took a little stroll a little bit north of here to the South Street Seaport. We wanted to show you what's going on up there. Here's some tape. This is actually Wall Street. As you know, Wall Street shut down today. Wall Street closed again tomorrow. It is a ghost town over there. Then we strolled over to the South Street Seaport. Over there, it's deserted. No one's there. The buildings, the businesses all have prepared for this. They have put sandbags out. They have taped the windows. Lots of restaurants along Wall Street, along Water Street. Again, though, people are not listening, and they are not staying out. I want to come back live because, again, let me show you, again, this visibility. I'm telling you, it's changing within the last half hour. Also over here, Barb, let's show them the Brooklyn Bridge. Over there in the distance, way over there, that is the Brooklyn Bridge underneath there. Again, it is still open. You can't see it now. We could see cars going over that not too long ago. But this wind is whipping across here, and along with it, the rain is coming. That's what's happening on down here. I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Kimberly, and I believe the Brooklyn Bridge is one of the bridges that is allowed to stay open, that the governor has not decided to close that one down at 7 o'clock tonight. We do know that it was the Throgs Neck, the Whitestone, the Verrazano, the Henry Hudson, the George Washington Marine Parkway, and the Cross Bay Veterans Memorial Bridge. Brooklyn Bridge, we understand at this point, has still been allowed to stay open. We want to go from one part of Zone A, which is the evacuation zone, to another, and Jeff Begays, he is in the Far Rockaways. Jeff, how are conditions there?
Well, deteriorating quite quickly here, Liz. Obviously getting smacked in the face by the wind and the rain here. Take a look at the ocean. This is it, whipping up, the waves whipping up, and now the tide is coming up and hitting the boardwalk here on Rockaway Beach. And earlier we were wondering about some of the people out here. There are people still coming out, taking photographs, still fascinated by all this. Of course, they should be at home, indoors. And in this apartment building, you see, still a lot of people who didn't evacuate, even though this is Zone 4, one of those flood-prone areas. There are a lot of people who didn't go. They just taped up their windows and put sandbags at the entrance to this building here. This is 122-20 Ocean Promenade here. So they're ready for the water if it comes up. And right now it looks like it's going to at least reach the boardwalk. Look at it here. About 2 hours ago, it was about 40 yards away from the boardwalk. Now it's definitely kissing the boardwalk. The winds are picking up, and the waves are picking up quite a great deal as well. Uh-oh, here we come. There's that awful sea foam. This stuff's gross. Anyway, back to you.
Yeah, it's no fun. You know, I'm getting just this latest report that the beach berms are now breaching all along the coast of Long Beach on Long Island in New York. Water pouring into the city from under the boardwalk there. So it's always some new challenge as this storm continues to march toward us.
Right. We do have Eyewitness News reporter NJ Burkett there. We're trying to reestablish a signal with him because of the storm. We have temporarily lost our signal. We do have a signal with Diana Williams. She is in Times Square. And Diana, I see a lot of people still out behind you.
It's absolutely amazing, Liz. We brought Road Cam 7 down here to the crossroads of the world, and the crossroads of the world is literally jammed. The neon lights are flashing. We've talked to a lot of tourists who are out here. A lot of people say they have cabin fever and they just needed to get out. Now, it's very interesting. Jim Dolan was talking about how the winds have subsided where he is. The winds have definitely subsided here. We're getting a lot of rain, drizzle, heavy drizzle falling on us right now. But the winds have definitely subsided. 45 minutes ago, when we were up near the crane collapse, we were getting buffeted and blown around. You know, here it's not a problem. It could be because we're surrounded by all these tall buildings, but it does seem like things have calmed down here a bit. And as you can see, a lot of people think it's not so bad out here, so they've come out here. I found this gentleman out here earlier, Bill, and he was telling me he was here when Irene was here. Is that right, Bill?
Yeah, last year I was here for Irene, and there was a lot more water built up. And over here, you could actually go slip and sliding on the painted pavement over here. It was nice.
And we were talking about how the temperatures were a little bit warmer. August was when Irene came through. It's a little colder out here right now.
I had a T-shirt on last year. It was nice because the water was warm. It's kind of gross because it's probably dirty, but we went slipping sliding right over here. It was really cool.
Yeah, but not so bad right now.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Actually, it's kind of warmer today as well. So, and the water's not like freezing like that, so it's nice.
Yeah. But it is surprising, although we do have an emergency vehicle coming by right now, as you can see. So we clearly have some police activity pretty much anywhere you go in Manhattan right now. But here in Times Square, a lot of tourists, a lot of folks coming by. Again, cabin fever. They just want to get out. They want to see what's going on. And so it's actually pretty crowded right now. But in other areas, I know, winds are whipping up, and those winds are going to be whipping up again. Reporting live from Times Square, I'm Diana Williams for Channel 7. Back to you in the studio.
Diana, as you look around, and obviously Times Square still completely illuminated by all the lights and everything, is anything open still?
Yeah. Actually, there are quite a number of places. I mean, this is Times Square in the city that never sleeps. But there's a restaurant over here that's open. We saw, a gift shop that was open. There are tourists here, and a lot of businesses, I'm sure, want to be still selling things and making money while they've got the tourists around and everything. So, there are a number of places that are open. There are also a number of places that are closed. And as you know, Broadway is dark on this evening. Monday night, typically not a lot of shows anyway. But all the shows are canceled at this point. But there are a couple of places open. I see another store over here that's open. So there's places for people to shop down here at this point.
It's just amazing. Public transportation shut down, Broadway shut down, and we have a hurricane approaching, and yet you just throw a stone and you're going to hit people in Times Square. They're going to still come.
The other interesting aspect of all this is that we have, it's almost even premature to talk about it, but the economic impact of all of this. Because clearly, you have places like Times Square, you have Broadway, where so many stores and restaurants have been forced to close down. Atlantic City, the casinos closed down, where Jim Dolan was telling us they're losing $5 million a day. So it will be interesting to see how this storm plays out and how much money New York City will end up losing.
Yeah. Exactly. The cost, the economic cost of this storm to the city, and not to mention the cost of, all of the police officers and fire personnel working overtime and trying to keep us safe. So there's going to be a huge economic toll from this storm. And again, we're in a lull, it would seem right now, and Jim was talking about it as well. We still have more to come with this storm, so things could change here in Times Square. But right now, things, as you can see, pretty quiet, pretty nice, but very wet.
It is an example of the city that never sleeps, no matter what. The lights are still on there. All right, then. Thanks for that report. Speaking of power, though, we're just getting reports from some of our reporters in Atlantic City, and one writes to us that we just lost power in most of Atlantic City, and of course I expect to be getting more of those kind of reports.
Yeah, and we're looking at pictures right now of some flooding in Queens. Power lines are down in College Point. Firefighters, as you can see in this video right there, firefighters are on scene. You can see a lot of downed trees in the area, down power lines, which is one of the reasons why city officials everywhere are urging people to stay indoors, because as the winds kick up, we're going to see more trees coming down, taking out power lines, and it is better safe to assume that those power lines are going to be live power lines.
Yeah,
so you need to be very, very careful.
In particularly that area, and with all the trees that are healthier with all the leaves on them, with the rain and the wind, is going to be a lot of these problems.
We should also say that Mayor Bloomberg is expected to have another briefing, expected to happen in about 40 minutes or so. He's going to let us know the very latest that is happening throughout the city. But right now, we want to head back out to Kristen Thorne. She is in Islip. Kristen.
Yeah, you guys, I'm going to try to hold on to my hat this time because this has been quite crazy out here. I want to show you again what we're seeing here on this canal, this street here in Islip. Again, the wind has died down a little bit. It's just so interesting to see how it goes through these fluctuations. There's times when our truck is literally like tipping all over the place, like it's a toy in the wind, and then things sort of get calm. But here, this is actually the highest, this is the highest we've seen the water up to this point. So it really is coming in. In fact, we were just talking about how long do we think we're going to be able to stay here, because even just about 3 minutes ago, it wasn't up this high. So things just happen really, really quickly. You see all the boats over here. We've seen some people coming just to check on those lines over here. And of course, we have people coming by to take a look. Come over here. Come over here. All right, what's your name?
I'm Mike.
All right, and you are?
I'm Alex.
Okay, and what are you doing?
Just checking it out, seeing what the conditions are like. Okay. Pretty outrageous, I will say that much.
Yeah, what do you think about all this?
It's some of the craziest weather I've ever seen around here.
Yeah.
I mean, this water doesn't come up this high, even in the wildest storms in the summer, so this is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and so you guys, I know you have your Wrangler up there, your nice Wrangler. Yeah, well, we can get a nice shot of that. Well, we got tons of people here, too. Say hello. Say hello. All right, so there's the Jeep Wrangler that you guys have been driving around, and how's that doing with the conditions?
Well, it's his Wrangler, so let's ask him.
Oh, how's it doing?
It's a Jeep, so it's unstoppable, but it's going well.
Yeah.
It handles the water pretty well, and these other, these vans and these sedans and stuff, they just can't hack it.
I know. Have you been seeing any of that? I mean, obviously you make a decision. You look at something and you say we should go in that or we shouldn't go in that.
Well, not in my car, little sedan, but in his Jeep, any day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, have you been sort of thinking about that as you've been driving?
Yeah, we've had to exercise a little,
caution.
Yeah, caution.
Okay.
Right. It's usually not a word for us guys, but yeah, caution.
No, that's all right. We want people to be careful. We want people to be careful. Thank you, guys. Please be careful out there. And I guess, just be careful on the ride. So again, coming back around here, we can show you a little bit of this flooding. I'm going to step in probably not too much more than this because it's just getting really, really high. Again, interesting to see how it keeps changing. This is the highest we've seen it. We will at some point have to make a decision. If we want to stay here, we got to figure out what we're going to do. So we are going to talk about that. Back to you guys.
All right, Kristen Thorne, thanks so much. We have been able to reestablish our signal with Eyewitness News reporter NJ Burkett. He's on Long Beach, where we understand that there has been a breach in one of the berms at the beach there. NJ, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, Liz. Loud and clear, no problem. I want to show you now what's happened over here. You're right, Liz. The sand berms that they put to protect the downtown business district have now breached. You can see there's a large breach that's got to be at least 40 feet wide, and the ocean is now pouring through that beach. It's going beneath the boardwalk, all the way out and into the parking lot over here, the municipal parking lot that enters out onto National Boulevard. And so you can see what's going to happen. The tide is still coming in, Liz. We're still 2 hours away from high tide, and look at what the water is doing to the city of Long Beach. The water is now filling in from the ocean. And you can see the extraordinary surf that we've got. I want to have John Lyles, our photographer, move through the hotel room where we're making this picture into the other window, and now you can see the power of the Atlantic Ocean. It is absolutely extraordinary. And again, 2 hours away from peak high tide. This is exactly what emergency management officials were worried about. This is exactly what they predicted, exactly what we've been warning people about for the last 24 hours easily. This is why people needed to leave the city of Long Beach hours ago. Now, as I said, 2 hours away from peak high tide. It is fairly clear now that parts of the city, if they're not beginning to flood, will flood in the next 2 hours. We spent a fair amount of time in the last hour or so driving through sections of Long Beach. We found there are already trees down. Parts of the city no longer have power. There are traffic lights out. It is a windswept ghost town downtown. And when you get down into the West End and you get a look at the bay, is beginning to breach the seawalls there. And as I said, you know, we're getting closer and closer to high tide. It's only going to get higher. It's only going to get worse. And that's the situation right now in Long Beach. Not looking good at all. Back to you now in Manhattan.
It certainly is, and you can see the water just pouring into the streets there that are now in front of you, NJ. Exactly the situation that Ed Mangano was saying just a short time ago, and urging people who did not evacuate to leave those areas because those streets are going to be flooded soon, and they are worried about having to go rescue people like they did on Fire Island earlier today, and already lost a police vehicle because the conditions out there got so badly. Governor Cuomo also saying that he has called up an additional 1,000 National Guard troops. Majority of them will be heading to Long Island. It is 4:58 right now. We are going to switch out anchors very quickly, and Eyewitness News reporter, Eyewitness News at 5 is going to begin with Bill Ritter and Shot.
Stay with Channel 7 Eyewitness News for continuing coverage of Sandy. On air, on your computer at 7 Online, and on the WABC iPhone and iPad apps. Plus, send your pictures of the storm to @WeatherABC7.
I'm all about 7 on your side. Bad people need to be called to the carpet.
They're there to defend you when you can't do it yourself.
Nina Pineda and 7 on your side are all about helping you.
I'm going to call 7 on your side. Immediate results.
Eyewitness News at 5 is all about you. Only on Channel 7.
Call it sexy. Call it luxurious. Call it a game changer. Call it a sports coupe reincarnated into a spacious crossover. Call it what you will. Just don't call it expected. The 2013 Kia Sorento, a 2012 IIHS top safety pick delivering 276 horsepower. Lease the Sorento LX for $239 a month and only $19.99 due at signing.
Name brand carpet, 70% off. Beautiful styles and colors, 70% off. Carpet for any room, 70% off. During Empire's huge warehouse sale. Save 70% on quality carpet and get the great service you'd expect. Plus professional installation when you want, even next day. Empire's huge warehouse sale. Your last chance this year to save 70% on carpet. Call today.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today.
I won.
Today could be your lucky day. With nearly 1 million winners daily, there's a little bit of luck for everyone.
Everybody turns to check out the 2013 Sonata. And now we've turned its price into a crowd pleaser too. During Hyundai's Savings at Every Turn sales event, you can get a Sonata for not $199, not $189, but $179 a month or 0.9% APR. Plus, you'll get an EPA estimated 35 mpg highway. Turn today into the day you get a Sonata for $179 a month or 0.9% APR. Hurry to your Hyundai dealer now. The Savings at Every Turn sales event ends October 31st.
Now, a special Stormwatch edition of Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Tracking Sandy.
The pounding winds from Hurricane Sandy toppling over a crane just south of Central Park. The crane now hanging precariously from a skyscraper under construction. And people left in Seaside Heights, New Jersey, beginning to feel the true wrath of this potentially devastating storm, a storm that's already deadly. We are already seeing damage to buildings there.
And flooding now surrounding the casinos in Atlantic City. The boardwalk empty with the rest of the city like a ghost town. And the hurricane battering Long Branch, sending huge waves crashing ashore. 3 men working to secure a boat in the storm surge. Hello again. I'm Sade Bitteren-Wong.
And I'm Bill Ritter. This is Eyewitness News at 5 on this Hurricane Sandy day. We have been here throughout this storm all day. We're going to continue to be here with you, walking you through the storm and riding it out with you. We are scrolling all the important information for you that you need to know at the bottom of the screen.
And here is some of the newest information. The Tappan Zee Bridge is now closed. Governor Cuomo ordering it shut down at 4 because of high winds, and more bridges will be closing shortly.
In Jersey City, officials have now put a curfew in place beginning at 6 o'clock tonight, ending at 1 p.m. Tuesday. And New York City has closed schools once again for tomorrow.
And we have our entire Eyewitness News team spread out across the tri-state area covering the storm. We'll get out to them in just a minute. We want to start with meteorologist Lee Goldberg tracking Hurricane Sandy. Lee?
All right, Sade and Bill, as we look at that crane and the 90-mile-per-hour winds that it's fighting against on the west side and in Midtown, we are 110 miles away from the center of the historic hurricane, Sandy, sitting off the shore, 30 miles away from Atlantic City, about 40 miles away from Cape May, and the storm is approaching landfall within the next hour or so. It is still a Category 1 hurricane. You can see it almost sitting directly south of New York City and moving to the west-northwest at about 28 miles an hour. This is a new advisory, 5 o'clock from the Hurricane Center, and it looks like it's taking it right across Cape May, and that would happen over the next hour or so. It was 30 miles from Cape May?
30 miles.
30 miles from Cape May and moving at 28 miles an hour. I mean, that puts it right on Cape May at about 6 o'clock. The entire weather team will be here with you to observe that and show you everything that's going on. One thing that we have noticed, first of all, is that it was a very organized center of circulation, almost could find an eye just offshore. And then it's kind of opened up rapidly as it's gotten to shore. It's a very interesting structure. But even if the rain is quieting down where you are, the wind will not and the surge will not. Those will still be the two big stories with the storm. And I think that's why a lot of people, we saw Diana Williams in Times Square, that's why so many people may be trying to venture out, because it's not so much a driving sideways rain all the time. But the wind is still there and the surge certainly is. Look at Atlantic City, how the heavy rain has already switched off to the south. But the actual storm center is about right there, and there's Cape May. So it's just about to come inland there on Cape May. To the north, yes, there are some steady rain bands that are blowing around. There can be some downpours, but the hurricane force winds go at 175 miles from the center of Sandy. So that really encompasses a good chunk of the tri-state area, unless you get way up into the mid-Hudson Valley. So hurricane force gusts are still going to be in our forecast here for the next 6 hours. So it's really after midnight that things will start to at least begin to back off, but it'll be a long process as that happens, and there still is some rain here. And you see all the rainfall off to the west and even some snow developing here. Wind gusts over the last hour, 61 miles per hour at JFK. We've seen 70 mile per hour winds down the coast. Amazing pictures we've had from Phil Lipoff in Seaside Heights. I just want to show you this computer model as it's bringing the storm on shore and point out this area of purple. Remember, high tides at 8 o'clock. As the storm comes ashore, it is going to have one more serious push of water into the land. So into the South Shore of Long Island, into New York Harbor and the Jersey Shore and Long Island Sound. So it is just going to enhance this high tide cycle even more, and this will be what Sandy will be remembered for, is this high tide cycle this evening. After midnight, the winds will start to get on the downside. We'll still have a high tide cycle we'll have to go through tomorrow morning, which could still be very, very bad across the area. So 2 cycles to go through, but the surge tonight could be over 12 feet record levels. There's still 20-foot waves that are crashing on shore. We saw NJ Burkett. There's lots of ocean that's going to come into the beach. We're going to lose lots of beach as we go through the next 6 hours. Life-threatening coastal flooding and severe erosion. Your storm planner, which I just updated for the evening hours. The high tide at 8 o'clock and the worst winds, 80-mile-per-hour gusts, especially along the coast. Rain and wind overnight, and then we begin to see the winds back off a little bit. But even though we're coming off of the peak conditions of Tuesday, 8 a.m., we have to go through a very dangerous high tide cycle. We'll be watching it all for you. Again, just about 1 hour from landfall, close to Cape May, New Jersey, maybe right in between Cape May and Atlantic City. Liz, Bill? Okay. I'm sorry, Sade.
That's okay. That's okay, Lee. Well, we just want to update you on the power outages. We've been talking about widespread power outages throughout the tri-state. Here are the latest numbers. In New Jersey, there are roughly 351,000 people without power. On Long Island, 258,000 without power. In New York City, 70,000. And in Connecticut, 145,000 without power.
Con Ed just putting out a notice to its customers and to us saying that notifying customers below 36th Street in Manhattan that they could face power outages depending on all that surge. We're also hearing that there's power outages in Atlantic City. We have Eyewitness News reporters out throughout all of this across the shoreline from Atlantic City all the way out to Long Island. We're going to begin down at Atlantic City. Jim Dolan getting the worst of it. Jim, we were told that power is out there. I don't know if you could tell from where you are or not.
Actually, it's kind of mixed, Bill. We have heard reports that power is out throughout the city. That does not appear to be the case. We see traffic lights that have power. Some buildings have power. A guy came over just a little while ago, told us about 20 minutes ago he lost power in his home along with a lot of the people on his block. And we have seen a number of transformers blow when the wind gets high and the rain gets real strong. We have seen a number of transformers blow. So it's safe to say a lot of people in Atlantic City don't have power. Some still do, and some businesses especially still do. And the traffic lights, by and large, are still operating. There's not much traffic for them to stop. We want to talk about the bizarre hour we have had in this storm for the last hour or so. Wow, sometimes the wind gets so strong you can barely stand up. But there was a period about 10 minutes ago when there was no wind at all. It was quiet, and the leaves on the trees weren't even moving. The rain stopped completely. It was very odd. The wind picking up a little bit now, but nowhere near what it has been like through most of the day here, when we have literally had times when I couldn't stand, could barely stand here in the street. Let me show you what it's like when the wind picks up. Some video that we shot just a short while ago. Todd Pierce, my photographer, standing here getting a shot, and that's debris coming off of that building. It is a brick that landed very close to Todd's head, almost hit him there, landed around him, broke on the ground when it landed, so still very dangerous to be outside. The thing is, when the wind calms down, people do come outside. They leave their homes to see what's going on, and that can be very deceiving. It can be very dangerous for those folks to be out here on the street. Again, very little traffic, very little car traffic, very little pedestrian traffic out here. Most people are staying inside for the most part. Again, power out for a lot of people. Some power still on for some people, but as the wind picks up, those transformers blow and people lose power at blocks at a time. You can see the wind starting to pick up just a little bit here. Reporting live from Atlantic City, Jim Dolan, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
All right, Jim.
Okay, Jim, thank you so
very
much.
We want to return to that crane accident in Midtown Manhattan, 57th and 7th Avenue. As you look at the George Washington Bridge from the Fort Lee side, there's the crane hanging precariously. This is a luxury residential condo complex. Penthouse apartments, like for $90 million they've sold for. Several $40 and $50 and $60 million. The highest residential facility, we're told, in the country, certainly in New York. This crane, I don't know whether it was secured or not. It may not have been. The top of it, as you can see, hanging precariously from the cab of that crane, and they're worried that they're just not going to be able to fix it before the storm's out.
That's right.
And it may just have to fall.
Well, now we have on the phone is Tom Barth, who is a crane expert. Tom, thank you so much for joining us today. This is a serious and dangerous situation. Explain to us what is really happening now. How dangerous can this be?
As I understand, there's going to be higher winds, and it could get more dangerous as the winds come up. As you see the crane boom hanging down, and you look at the tower, you will see some arms coming out of the tower. If the house swings around and that boom hits the arms, there's a possibility that it could break the arms, and then it all could come down.
You know, officials were saying earlier that in terms of safety, that they couldn't put anybody else's lives at risk, that it was just too risky to try to secure the crane at this point. Is that your assessment too? Is it just too windy up there? Lee Goldberg said that winds at the top of that, where that crane is, could be around 100 miles per hour.
Absolutely. I would suggest just let it there, move the people out of the distance, away from the crane. If it falls, no lights will be in harm's way.
Okay, Tom, do you have any idea in terms of the weight of this structure?
No. Different cranes have different weights and everything else.
Right. You have. We know, Tom. We appreciate you calling as Tom Barth of Barth Crane Inspections. He has been to New York City before, investigating 2 other crane accidents, and we all await sort of this disaster within disaster, breaking news within breaking news, what's going to happen to that crane. They cannot bring another crane in right now to try to fix that, and officials worry they just have to let this thing fall.
And they have been evacuating buildings throughout that area, trying to get people out. We're not sure exactly where they're being told to go, but they just needed to leave the area. Some people are being told in those buildings to get to the lower grounds, or if not, move out of the buildings altogether.
Exactly. Let's just hope it stays there. It's not meant to be like that. Let's just hope it stays there. All right, Tom Barr, thank you very much. We want to move now back to our reporters out in the field in the middle of this tracking Hurricane Sandy extended coverage that we're in the middle of all day and all night. We're going to ride this thing out with you. Eyewitness News reporter Jeff Pegues is in the Rockaways out in Queens there, and it's, well, you moved to a little higher ground, I guess, Jeffrey.
Well, it was just a few minutes ago, but it's quickly becoming lower ground because the ocean is starting to beat against the boardwalk here. Take a look behind me. You see the sand berms there. Of course, they build those to try to protect the boardwalk, to try to protect the neighborhoods in this area. But those sand berms are no match for this ocean out here. This thing is really kicking up right now. The wind is kicking up, a lot more rain now. But look at the waves out there, and the water, the tide is coming in, and it's starting to really beat against the boardwalk here. There were people out here earlier, but thankfully they're starting to go inside. But just as I say that, I see more out here, and some are just kind of playing around. But that's why you see the police here. They are patrolling these boardwalks. We have a police vehicle coming down the boardwalk right now. They want to make sure that everybody is safe here, which brings me to my next point. There was a guy out here just a few minutes ago who I guess he wanted to take a picture. I guess he was interested. He walked out to this sand berm here, and as soon as he got out there, he got hit with a major wave that seemed to come out of nowhere. It almost sucked him out to sea, so he is really lucky. He's safe. But it just goes to show you that you don't do something like that, not in a storm like this. And that's why officials are always asking people to really stay away from areas like this when you're dealing with a storm like Sandy. Back to you.
Jeff, thank you. Now we want to go to Kimberly Richardson, who is in Lower Manhattan. And Kimberly, what is the scene where you are?
Oh, Sade, in the last half hour or so, things again have ramped up out here. Let me first show you where I'm standing. I'm standing on this graded platform here. We're literally standing over the East River. We're just south of the South Street Seaport. Take a look out here. That is the Brooklyn Bridge, and look at how those winds are whipping the river around. Okay, top prize for probably the dumbest thing to happen today. Take a look at this video we just took a few minutes ago. This is video of a jet skier out here on the East River. He was flying. He did a loop up near the Brooklyn Bridge, came back down and went south. NYPD officers are out here under the FDR right near us, and they jumped out. They were trying to get an eye on him. They were on their radios. You know, that's just foolish. You're having then the Harbor Patrol and other vessels out here on the river. They're going to try and get him. I don't know, he circled back around towards the Battery and over in that direction. But again, an example of what's going on. I want to show you again the water. I'm going to come over here. When we go this way, though, we're going into the wind, and the lens may get a bit wet. But the water is splashing up, and it's coming up through these grates. The river definitely is starting to rock and roll out here.